Amazing rescue of a frozen wolf and her baby. Discover the incredible transformative surprise. Snow fell thick as Lily trudged through the biting cold, each gust of wind gnawing at her resolve. Doubts cascaded through her mind. Ever since her grandfather's passing, his shadow loomed over every moment, every decision. "You have to be a warrior, Lily," he'd said. But today, with the weight of impending decisions, she felt more like a ghost of a failure. On her rounds, the landscape was hauntingly beautiful, a stark white blanket covering the familiar trails. But beneath her gentle facade, turmoil churned. Could she truly live up to the family legacy? Now, with another storm raging, the gnawing fear of inadequacy wrapped around her like the biting chill. She felt it every day when she patched up the local pets. But this time it was different. Life and death hung in the balance, and she wasn't sure she was strong enough. And then she saw them, a mother wolf trapped in the snow, her tiny pup barely peeking out from the drift, shivering. Her heart broke at the sight, pulling at every ounce of compassion and stirring old instincts to protect. But an icy grip of fear seized her. What if she failed? What if her attempts to rescue them only endangered her own life or worsened their chances of survival? Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind, reminding her of every triumph and every looming failure. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, Jesse appeared. A man whose face had weathered many seasons in the wild. He had returned home but held a fortress of isolation about him. Lily hesitated, his reticence clear. "I can't do this alone," she thought. But she found determination in the flicker of hope ignited by their shared purpose. There was a spark between them. His camera could document what she was about to attempt. In that moment, he became a lifeline. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rescue attempts morphed into an exhilarating push against the storm. As they dug through the snow, shared stories began to weave their lives together. But every laugh fell short of dissolving her internal war. The skepticism of Timberwood's residents clawed at her. Lily felt the weight of their judgment and questioning eyes. Could she truly save the wolves when they didn't even believe in her? A sudden crack of ice startlingly split the silence above, freezing her breath in her throat. Her heart raced as the winds howled angrily, the storm intensifying around them. In that moment, reality crashed in. What if she did succeed in saving the wolves, but remained trapped within her grandfather's overwhelming legacy? A cascade of thoughts tumbled within, her anxiety escalating as the freezing winds raged on, every gust whispering doubt. How could she fight not just for the mother and her baby, but also for her own shattered spirit? Lily stood on that precipice, caught between fear and resolve, the stakes rising with every passing hour. Would she find her strength to break through the chilling grasp of her self-doubt? Or would the storm steal away her dreams before she could even grasp them? Every shovel of snow Lily tossed aside felt heavier than the last, each flake a reminder of her doubt and desperation. Breathing heavily, she stole glances at Jesse, who had become her anchor, as he skillfully captured the rescue's critical moments on camera. She wondered if he felt the weight of judgment pressing upon them too. Did he sense the apprehension swirling around Timberwood, the whispers that she was untested? While they worked side by side, their shared adrenaline clashed against her internal turmoil. Could she really rise to this challenge, be the warrior her grandfather believed she could be? With the wind howling like a banshee, Lily momentarily lost focus. In the chaos of her thoughts, she allowed herself to envision failure, the howling storm overpowering her best efforts, the wolves slipping away beneath the snow, and the faces of the townsfolk, marked by skepticism, staring at her with disappointment. She shook her head, physically dispelling the vision as though it were an oppressive fog. In that moment, Jim's calm voice rolled over the sound of the storm, urging her to dig deeper. "You're doing great. Just keep going." He sounded unfazed, but she could see his furrowed brow, the concern clouding his eyes. His praise encouraged her, wrapping around her resolve like a warm blanket. Still, she had to confront her fears under this vast, indifferent sky. With renewed energy, she pressed on, the sharp cold biting at her fingers as she violated the snow, desperately searching for a way to reach the trapped wolf and her pup. Each scoop of snow conveyed her determination to prove every doubter wrong, not out of pride, but out of a profound desire to connect with the legacy of care her grandfather had instilled within her. As the warmth of purpose surged through her veins, she understood that this wasn't merely for the wolves. It was about her, breaking the chains of fear he had unknowingly bound her with. Suddenly, another crack rang out from above, a sharp and menacing reminder of the peril they faced. Panic surfaced. The trees groaned under the weight of the storm, and the reality of her situation threatened to swallow her whole. What if I fail them? The thought clawed at her stomach. It was time to carve out a path for herself, demanding her own agency over her fate. "Jessie!" she shouted, the wind almost swallowing her voice. She needed to know they had a chance. "If we can get her out, what do we do next? We can't just leave them exposed." What she heard next was the sound of resolve. A flicker of excitement intertwined with fear echoed in his voice. "We take them to my cabin. It's not far, and it has enough supplies. We can keep them safe and warm until we figure out the next step." Those words infused her with a mixture of inspiration and dread. It was a plan, but also a commitment she had never fully fanned into flame. The prospect of responsibility loomed ahead. Could she handle it? As one last attempt beckoned her forward, sincerity settled in her chest. She tore herself free from her self-imposed limitations, her eyes intent on the target ahead, the desperate family buried beneath the relentless snow. Digging fiercely, she unearthed the mother wolf first, its frightened eyes meeting hers, full of pain and trust. The realization struck her like a lightning bolt. This creature was as vulnerable as she felt, and yet, here it was, standing at the precipice of survival. "We've got you," she whispered, her words punctuated by a conviction she never knew she possessed. In that very moment, she seized her own power, no longer a shadow of her grandfather, but an embodiment of strength and compassion. Victory was hovering tantalizingly close, though the storm's rage roared around them. But amid the chaos, resolve was building, a fierce hunger to not only save but to embrace her identity. Just as they prepared to haul the fragile creature to safety, a thunderous roar echoed from above. Lily's heart dropped as a monstrous avalanche cascaded toward them. Could they make it out in time? She grasped the wolf tightly, desperation coursing through her. The battle was no longer just for the animals but the awakening of her true self. The bond with this fragile life sparked a flame, changing the course of her destiny. Would she break free in time to save them all? Or would the storm snuff out the light she had only just begun to kindle? The roar of the avalanche filled the air, transforming the world into a symphony of terror. Lily felt the ground tremble beneath her feet as the icy mountain rage bore down upon them. Her breath caught in her throat. Time seemed to slow, the fate of the wolves and her own destiny suspended in that cataclysmic moment. "Jessie, we have to move," she shouted, her voice desperate against the howling wind. Yet even as she pulled the mother wolf closer, the reality of their situation clawed at her insides. Could she outrun the inevitable? Tugging at Jessie's sleeve, she saw the determination etched on his face. He needed her to act, to stay composed. As the avalanche rumbled like a freight train, panic threatened to seize her, but somehow she pushed it aside. Clutching the wolf, her heart raced with equal parts fear and fierce conviction. This was not just a rescue mission. It was a definition of who she would become. "Grab the pup," she yelled, directing his focus. In those frantic seconds, she realized her instincts were sharpening. Every primal survival instinct sparked within her, lending purpose to her movements. Jessie nodded, darting into the swirling snow, searching for the tiny creature her heart and spirit needed to save. With each passing moment, the significance of this encounter crystallized. This was about more than rescuing a pair of wolves. It was about seizing her own power in a world that had conspired against her belief in herself. Filling her lungs with the cold air, she turned her attention back to the mother, whispering soothingly, "You will be safe. I promise." It struck her then. It was her calmness that could create a ripple effect. What if she focused on the wolf's trust instead of her mounting fear? This thought lit a spark deep within as she settled her mind. Just like the wolves, she too had the instinct to survive. Jesse reappeared, cradling the pup with a tenderness that swelled her heart. "I got her!" he shouted, urgency driving his voice. They were ready, no matter how fierce the storm roared outside. "Let's go," Lily urged, her voice firm, embodying the warrior she was unearthing within herself. Together they moved, stumbling through the knee-deep snow. With every step backward, they built momentum against the chaos that threatened to devour them. Racing toward the cabin, Lily heard the avalanche's roars reach a fever pitch. Behind her, a wall of white thundered down the mountain, carving its destructive path as if the earth itself had unleashed its fury. But when she looked at Jesse and the fragile creature nestled in his arms, she felt a tether of purpose bind them tightly. Each of them was not just fighting to survive, but fighting for something deeper: connection, compassion, and identity. The cabin loomed ahead, an oasis against the storm's wrath. As they reached the door, Lily's hands fumbled with the doorknob, adrenaline feeding her urgency. Flinging it open, they rushed inside, a cacophony of snow and resolve trailing behind them. Once the door slammed shut, silence enveloped them, cocooning their frantic breaths. The warmth inside was stark against the bitter cold they had just escaped. Heart pounding, Lily dropped to her knees, laying the mother wolf gently on the ground beside the pup. The wolves were safe, but the wild storm still raged outside, echoing the tempest within Lily's mind. Relief washed over her, but the battle was far from over. There was care to provide, decisions to make, responsibilities she had only just begun to comprehend. "Lily, what do we do now?" Jesse's voice broke through her thoughts, charged with the weight of the moment. His eyes searched hers, as if seeking guidance, and in that instant, she felt the enormity of her role blossom before her. I don't know yet," she admitted, aware of the gravity in their situation. "But I have to figure it out. We can't let fear dictate our next move." Standing tall, Lily stared out the window at the storm, a fierce determination igniting within her. The path she had envisioned for herself was shaky, and yet, she understood something critical. It was in these moments of uncertainty that true leadership emerged. The next challenge awaited her, and with it came a formidable question. Could she harness this newfound strength to protect not just the wolves, but also herself? As the wind howled outside and danger lurked just beyond the door, one thought echoed fiercely within her. This was only the beginning of her journey. The soft whimper of the pup cut through the tense stillness inside the cabin. Lily knelt beside the mother wolf, gently stroking her fur, conscious of the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. A new layer of purpose started to converge with her resolve as she peered into the mother wolf's distressed eyes, reflecting an untamed spirit and instinct for survival that resonated deeply within her. "Jesse, we need to keep them warm," she spoke resolute. "Let's find some blankets." A burst of pragmatic thinking illuminated her focus. They braved nature's wrath merely moments before, and she realized their survival now hinged on nurturing these wolves, as much as it rested in overcoming their unpredictable environment. Jesse nodded, uncertainty mingled with admiration in his gaze. He moved to gather supplies while Lily examined the wolves. The pup trembled in response to the unfamiliar environment, and the mother seemed to draw closer, nudging her child as if to shield her from their fate. A wave of empathy washed over Lily, compelling her to connect with the mother's worry. "Hey, you're safe now," she murmured, her breath steadying as she spoke. "We're here. We'll take care of you." As she spoke, she felt the resilient spirit of the wolves echoing in her heart, embracing a newfound strength. She wasn't just a protector in this moment. She was caretaking a bond born from survival. Jesse returned with an armful of blankets. "Do you think they'll be okay?" he asked, kneeling beside her. The flicker of doubt in his voice drew her attention, but she held fast. Doubt might distract them from their purpose, but it wouldn't deter her. "They need warmth, and we need to make sure they feel safe," Lily said, wrapping her arms around the mother and pup gently. The simple act of comfort ignited in her an instinctual understanding she had underappreciated. If she could nurture these wild creatures, what else could she achieve? As they bundled the wolves, she caught a glimpse of herself in a nearby mirror, flushed cheeks and wild hair reflecting back a stranger who was beginning to look unfamiliarly fierce. There was depth within those features now, forged not just by external circumstances, but by an awakening, an unraveling of the layers she had clothed herself in for too long. She was shaking off the old fears that had held her hostage. Suddenly, a muffled crash reverberated through the cabin, pulling her out of her introspection. Heart racing, she glanced at Jesse, who mirrored her startled expression. "What was that? Should we check?" he asked, hesitation lacing his voice. But Lily couldn't ignore the pulse of anxiety surging through her veins. This was not just about survival anymore. It was about confronting the fear that had haunted her for years. The fear of inadequacy, the uncertainty of her own capability. "No," she said, her voice fierce as the icy wind outside. "If we go out there without a plan, we'll only expose ourselves." She considered for a moment, her mind racing. "We need to prepare. Let's fortify the cabin, ensure these wolves are secure, and find a way to signal for help if needed." With a newfound sense of urgency, Lily began strategizing with Jesse. They moved crates against the inner door, collected tools for defense, and set up a small area for the wolves. Each action felt like an extension of her evolving self, leading her deeper into the realm of leadership. "Lily," Jesse interrupted, his voice urgent. "What happens if we have to leave this place? What do we do then?" A long pause settled in, tension building like a clap of thunder. Lily caught his eye, the reality of their situation crashing down. They had been thrust into an uncertain tomorrow, and escape now seemed both a distant goal and an imminent possibility. "We adapt. We've already survived the mountain," she said steadily. "Now we navigate this one step at a time." Her heart thundered against her ribs as the wolves nestled close, their instincts mirroring her own burgeoning strength. But in navigating the dangers beyond the door, would they find more than physical threats? As darkness loomed outside, a deep-seated question began to rise within her. Was she ready to confront not just the storm, but whatever awaited them beyond the safety of the cabin? Finding her self-assured steadiness was one battle. The next awaited them with each tick of the clock, drawing closer as familiarity gave way to something sinister lurking just beyond the threshold. Time crawled as the icy wind howled against the cabin walls, its ferocious whispers laced with the promise of danger outside. Lily stood firmly in the center of the room, her fingers tracing the silhouettes of the wolves now tucked into a makeshift den formed from blankets and crates. Each flutter of fabric against the mother's fur carried a sense of calm that contrasted starkly with the chaos of her racing mind. "Jesse," she began, raising her voice above the chilling sounds. "Let's create a signal we can use if we need to reach out for help. Anything that can attract attention." Her resolve echoed in the small space, like the confidence she was starting to draw from this blended journey of survival and leadership. "Right," Jesse responded, roused from his own thoughts. He scattered through the room, his urgency sparking a fire within her. Together they gathered small debris, pieces of wood, crumpled paper, anything that could serve a purpose. Each item felt like a fragment of their intertwined destinies, linking them with a shared mission: to survive, to thrive. "Lily, you really think we can handle anything out there?" Jesse paused, the uncertainty in his question hanging heavy in the air. "More than we think we can," Lily shot back, surprising even herself with the steadiness in her tone. She realized her self-doubt was uninvited now. This was her moment to elevate beyond fear into action. Doubts would not claim her today. There was an undeniable strength emerging, identified and harnessed through their collective struggle. They worked tirelessly, fashioning a crude yet effective signal, a pile of materials that could ignite into smoke when lit. Each movement fostered a clearer understanding of their situation. Here, with her heart pounding and the shadows encroaching, Lily discovered depth in her tenacity. Every challenge reframed her perception of bravery. Not the absence of fear, but the recognition and management of it. As routines shifted into the night, she found herself examining her internal landscape. The images of the vulnerable wolves reflected her own journey. The mother's fierce instincts mirrored her awakened strength. For the first time, she began to question not only their physical survival, but her own emotional transformation. What did it mean to lead not just through action, but through empathy? With each passing hour, the ambiance grew thick with anticipation. The moment of confrontation felt imminent, but Lily knew they couldn't remain paralyzed by anxieties. "Let's check the perimeter," she suggested suddenly, feeling a surge of urgency resonate in her chest. "We need to know what we're up against." "Wait, it might be risky," Jesse cautioned, but Lily silenced him with a determined glare. "Risk is our reality now, Jesse. We promised we would adapt." She moved toward the door, her heart racing with the possibilities that lay outside. Behind the safety of walls and woven blankets, she could feel the thrill of potential, yet the uncertainty hummed like electricity in the air. "We have to be strategic. We stick together. We process what we encounter. No heroics, just truth." Her tone softened but remained firm, reinforcing her leadership with a calm steadiness. Together they approached the door, heartbeats synchronized, breaths held tight. She couldn't ignore the weight resting heavily in her stomach. Stepping outside meant embracing not just the elements but the shrouded fears coiling within her. With a silent nod, they opened the cabin door, revealing the darkness wrapped around the snowy landscape like a shroud. The faint moonlight danced, teasing the shadows from the trees, flickering with enigmas that could hold both danger and discovery. "Are you ready?" Lily breathed, each word tinged with anticipation. She had strategized for this moment. Now, she had to summon every ounce of courage she possessed. The question loomed larger than the shadows. Could she confront the storm beyond these walls, discover her authentic self in the process, and lead them to safety? But before she could push forward, they heard a sound, a rustling, followed by a low growl rippling through the crisp air. Their terrifying reality was waiting to reveal itself, and the challenge of facing whatever lurked in the night hung heavily over them like a dark cloud. Would they confront their fears only to discover something they were not prepared for? With hearts pounding, they stepped into the abyss, poised on the edge of uncertainty, ready to confront whatever fate had crafted for them. The frigid air seized Lily's lungs, a stark reminder of their tenuous hold on safety in the midst of looming threats. The growl echoed ominously, merging with the rustling of leaves, whispering shadows around them. A moment suspended in time, where instinct battled logic. "Stay close," she instructed, tightening the grip on Jesse's arm. Fear danced at the edges of her consciousness, but she refused to succumb to it. This was her moment of truth, teetering on the brink of leadership and vulnerability. They ventured into the daunting blackness, Lily's heart thudding like a war drum. With each cautious step, she strategized their exploration, dissecting the flicker of potential dangers. Behind their frostbitten breaths, thoughts twirled frantically. What was out there? Could they outsmart whatever lurked in the dark? Narrowed focus settled on the noise ahead, a low vibration of ferocity that steadied her resolve. This was no time for hesitation. Doubt didn't belong alongside them now. "Let's approach slowly," she whispered, as they inched forward, embracing the shiver of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Just then, a white shadow darted through the trees, and her breath caught. Instinctively, her silhouette aligned alongside Jesse's as they shifted their weight. It moved with desperate grace, a figure striking despite its clarity being cloaked by night. "Look!" Jesse tugged at her sleeve, pointing. Intrigued, Lily squinted into the darkness. The outline of a wolf with matted fur streaked against the moonlight emerged. It appeared weary, each breath visible in the chilly air, but it did not seem threatening. Rather, it looked vulnerable. "Is it hurt?" Jesse murmured, sympathy threading through his voice. Lily's mind raced. The wolf mirrored her own vulnerability. They were all outcast in this unforgiving wilderness, struggling for existence. "We must be cautious," she cautioned. Though her instincts urged compassion, she wrestled with the knowledge of how nature operated. Vulnerability could become an invitation for danger. Should we help it? What if it turns on us? Jessie's voice trembled slightly. "Rescue is a choice," she replied, grounding her conviction in a moment that teetered between risk and empathy. In this wilderness of frost and shadow, maybe they could show compassion where others would show fear. Her sense of determination surged in this revelation. Leadership was not just about strength, it was about understanding those less fortunate. As they neared the wolf, the low growl intensified, cautious but curious. When they were just a few feet away, Lily's heart softened, seeing the creature's distress and the invisible link forming between them. The wolf's eyes, brimming with intelligence and pain, locked onto hers. An unspoken desperation connected them as if asking for help. "I need to try," she said at last, moving closer despite Jessie's protest. "I'll keep my hands near the ground." She knelt, letting her humanity seep through the fear, an offering of trust that she hoped the wolf could recognize. When the creature approached, every instinct told Lily to retreat, yet something deeper urged her forward. This was an opportunity to forge connection, to lead with an open heart. "We're not here to harm you," she whispered, her breath trembling. "We just want to help." The wolf hesitated, breath forming ghostly clouds in the air. Then in a small act of surrender, it lowered itself to the ground, submission entwined with curiosity. In that moment, Lily understood something vital about herself. Courage existed not only in facing threats but in extending oneself to embrace the unknown. "See, Jessie, strength is nuanced." But then came a sharp crack. A branch splintered in the distance, a reminder of the real and imminent threats lurking in the wilderness. The wolf turned its head sharply, sensing the disturbance, and for the first time, dread swept through Lily. The question of impending danger stirred her once again. Was she prepared for what lay ahead? What choice would define their next moment? The air thickened with tension as she anticipated what might emerge from the darkness, uncertain whether this encounter was a thread leading to salvation or a siren call luring them into peril. "Lily, we need to go." Jessie's voice broke her focus, fear coating his words. "What if there's more danger out there?" she questioned, torn between her desires to save and to risk, the reality of their situation growing more complicated with each passing second. Behind them, the sound grew closer, the shadows shifting as something large moved, an unseen force waiting to reveal itself. What lay on the other side of their choice? With her heart racing, Lily realized they stood at the crossroads of urgency and empathy, the next decision looming like a predator in the dark. Would she be able to protect not only herself and Jessie, but this wolf that had unexpectedly captured her resolve? The night was thick with uncertainty, leaving her to confront whether she could embrace both her power and vulnerability in the face of what was about to unfold. Barely allowing herself a moment to breathe, Lily felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Her instinct urged her to help the wolf, while the chilling reality of their precarious situation buzzed menacingly at the edges of her focus. She had stepped into the role of protector, yet here she stood, tethered between empathy and self-preservation. "Lily, please." Jessie's cries sliced through her resolve. Was their mission to save or survive? By extending a hand to the wolf, had she endangered them both? Hesitation laced with doubt tightened her throat, as if the very air around them was holding its breath in anticipation. "Just a moment longer," she whispered back, keeping her voice steady, trying to project confidence and courage to Jessie. As she knelt before the creature, the low growl softened, transformed into hesitant whimpers, a plea for understanding. In that raw moment of vulnerability, something unexpected snapped into focus. Acknowledging fear transformed it into a conduit for strength. What if she took this moment, however uncertain, and turned it into a defining one? What if she carved her own identity not just from this wilderness, but as a person who could advocate for the voiceless, The idea ignited something deep within, a fierce rebellion against the instinct to retreat into safety. You can do this, she thought, determined to prove that true strength lay in compassion. She extended her hand out slowly, palm up, a universal sign of truce. Each heartbeat echoed her silent prayer. Come on, trust me, she murmured. The wolf lingered, its breath uneven, eyes searching hers, as if parsing her intentions. Behind them, the sound grew ever closer. Fear stirred within her, and yet, the wolf remained grounded in the significance of that moment. A harrowing decision loomed, the weight of choices pressed against her chest. Suddenly, with a burst of tempered courage, Lily pressed onward, inching closer. Her heart raced, not just with the threat of the approaching darkness, but also with a longing for connection. As she reached out, she felt a ripple of anticipation reverberate around them. Would it take that leap of faith, like she was attempting to do? Then the wolf moved, a tentative step followed by another. It began to close the distance, and Lily's hope surged. Perhaps strength could exist alongside vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, she broke the barrier of silence. You don't have to be afraid, she said, her voice earnest, seeking that invisible thread forging their bond. The wolf hesitated again, but a flicker of understanding sparked in its eyes. It took one more step forward, and then, as if drawn by an unbreakable force, it let out a soft whimper and nosed her hand. Triumph coursed through her veins. The wolf had chosen to trust her, a leap only made by those who dared to embrace vulnerability. See? It's working. Lily turned, half expecting Jesse to beam with pride, but she found him rooted to the spot, his face clouded with fresh anxiety. Lily, look behind you. A wave of panic crashed over her as she turned. Emerging from the shadows was a larger silhouette, teeth bared, stalking with unwavering intent. The wolf's protector, or perhaps an aggressor, determined to reclaim what it perceived as a threat. Lily's resolve deepened, lacing through her fear, as she scrambled to her feet. She was responsible for both Jesse and the wolf now, suddenly aware that this encounter could dictate their survival. But what if I'm not strong enough? She wrestled with the thought as the creature drew nearer, hostility simmering within it. What if my attempt to save one ends up costing us all? The wolf shifted between Lily and its threatening counterpart, growling low as it stood its ground. It was a fragile alliance, one that tested the limits of her burgeoning courage and understanding of sheltering those beyond herself. This was not merely about the confrontation of two creatures, but a clash of ideologies. A realization struck her. In stepping forward, she had unknowingly inspired trust, not just in herself, but also in the wolf. Together, Lily whispered urgently to the wolf, as her heart pounded in alignment with its fierce determination. The line drawn between safety and risk blurred, challenging her to confront her fears head-on. Steeling herself, a new question spiraled through her mind. What truly defined her as a leader? Would she be willing to face the approaching threat head-on? With every muscle tensed, Lily felt an exhilarating sense of purpose as she prepared to confront whatever came next. The night held its breath, darkness thick with unseen possibilities, leaving her to grapple with a tantalizing reality. Could her choice, forged in courage and empathy, redefine not just her fate, but the very nature of leadership itself? And as shadows loomed larger, she braced herself for an encounter that may determine their very survival. Would her ability to nurture strength in herself and others prove to be their salvation, or their undoing? The air hung thick with tension as the larger predator advanced, its eyes blazing with intent. Lily's heart raced, though not purely from fear. The present moment crystallized all her uncertainties and desires into a single, sharp purpose. She asserted her stance, shifting alongside the wolf, creating an unspoken pact between them. The realization that she had become an unintended ally to the creature fueled her inner fire. "Jesse, stay behind me," she commanded, her voice steady despite the thrumming anxiety underneath. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet she anchored herself in the present, asserting, "I'm not going to let you down." The closer the looming figure came, the clearer her role defined itself. Yes, the stakes were high, but perhaps this was what leadership meant, standing firm when the ground felt unsteady, taking a risk in the name of protecting others. As she stood resolute, she acknowledged the depth of her own convictions, unwilling to shy away from the raw complexity of this encounter. The wolf beside her emitted a low, protective growl, each rumble resonating through Lily. She could feel its fear mirroring her own, but also a fierce resolve, a dual reflection of their shared plight. They were now united by necessity, two beings compelled to forge a path forward amidst the darkness. This alliance unlocked a buoyancy of hope in her, a sensation that she could harness this bond into something transformative. "I won't let you fight alone," she murmured to the wolf, not just as a pledge of protection, but as an acknowledgement of its strength and willingness to stand by her side. The growling figure drew closer, its intentions unfurling like a dark banner against the glowing night. In a strange way, the pressing danger clarified her priorities. It wasn't just about survival anymore, but about discovering her own capabilities in navigating crisis. The world beyond the treacherous landscape where she stood blurred, eclipsed by the sharp focus on this moment and the choices it demanded. With each inhalation, her body surged with a mix of fear and determination, a visceral reminder that she wasn't just witnessing the struggle, but actively participating in it. A flash of movement caught her peripheral vision. Jessie, eyes wide, was edging forward, propelled by a combination of curiosity and lurking panic. She turned her head slightly. "No," she pleaded softly, her tone firm, but not harsh enough to betray her rising alarm. "You need to stay behind." But Jessie shook his head, determined. "If we're going to face this thing, I can help. I'm not going to just stand here." His words struck a chord, igniting another layer of conflict within Lily. Here was the crux of leadership, the balance between maintaining control and allowing others to grow. If she insisted on keeping him sheltered, would he feel empowered, or would it merely stifle the leadership potential brewing within him? What would happen if they both took the plunge into this uncertainty? "All right, but you must listen to me," she urged, her gaze steadying on him. "We need to work as a team." The large predator paused, a flicker of assessment passing through its eyes, and in that split second, she understood the sheer weight of their collective decisions. Every breath she took not only fortified her spirit, but also infused Jessie with unexpected courage. She could see the shift. The tentative steps he took toward her solidified their bond, the trust burgeoning from shared fear. A growl burst from the creature's throat, refocusing their attention. It was time to act. Each moment stretched into eternity, and within that precious time she recalibrated her purpose. Compassionate leadership was more than just steadying her own course. It involved guiding those around her into new realizations about their strengths. Together, they positioned themselves, Lily a wall of defiance before Jessie and the wolf, confronting the predator as a fierce, united front. "Stay alert and follow my lead," she instructed, her voice gaining strength. The unity forged in that life-or-death moment sparked something profound within her, igniting her instinct to protect not just the wolf and Jessie, but to embrace every aspect of her identity as a leader. "Now," she whispered, her heart pounding as adrenaline surged, "let's show it what we can do." As she braced for the confrontation, the looming shadow threatened to crash down around them, yet she felt unyielding. Could her courage catapult both her and Jessie into a future where they not only survived, but thrived? And as shadows mingled with the steel of their resolve, she knew the moment demanded a choice, an embrace of their combined strength against a formidable foe. But would the unfolding battle reveal deeper truths hidden within them both, or would they find themselves overpowered by fear? As the predator lunged, a primal instinct urged Lily to shield Jessie and the wolf at all costs, but the fleeting clarity also offered a revelation. She wouldn't just defend, she needed to lead, to manipulate the space between them and their foe. In that heartbeat, she defined her strategies, her mind racing to shape their collective response. "Now, move to the left," she shouted, the command cutting through the dense atmosphere. The wolf responded instinctively, aligning with her directional shift. Jessie hesitated for a split second, but the urgency in her voice propelled him forward, an echo of her unyielding determination telling him this was no time for doubt. The creature, startled but undeterred, redirected its focus with fierce intensity, its muscles coiling for another attack. Lily's heart hammered, caught between the thrill of command and the suffocating fear of imminent danger. Adrenaline surged, sharpening her senses and heightening her perception of every threat, every opportunity. As they moved as a unit, she felt a unique veneration for the wolf. It embodied the raw power of survival, melding with her human resilience. Their fates intertwined as they engaged the predator, not as singular entities, but as an adaptive force against an unyielding enemy. But as the predator advanced, the air thickened with questions that feasted on her resolve. What if their united front was insufficient? What if she miscalculated their defenses? The weight of these uncertainties loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to encase her in doubt. "Stick close," she barked, her words echoing strength she did not wholly feel. In that moment, she acknowledged both her anxiety and her determination. Lily's leadership was not a facade of unwavering confidence. It was instead the courage to stand firm despite fraying nerves. In the tumult of battle, she caught Jesse's eye, his expression a blend of trust and youthful fervor. That shared glance transformed her fear into renewed focus. He was not merely a young boy stepping into danger. He was an extension of her resolve, a potential equal in this delicate interplay of survival. With the predator poised for an attack, she realized the confrontation was not solely physical. It was a crucible for their collective growth. Every lunge they executed, every mimicry of her commands, was carving out a space for mutual development, a dynamic fostering their capabilities amid chaos. The creature sprang, and as it lunged toward them, Lily initiated a swift sidestep, positioning herself to draw its attention away from the others. The wolf mirrored her, a fluid choreography of instinct and learning that electrified the atmosphere. In that moment of elevation, she discerned not just how to survive the encounter, but also to mold Jesse into a warrior, instilling resourcefulness in him. "Now, Jesse!" she shouted, the urgency propelling him into motion. Gripping a jagged rock, he hurled it toward the predator, a desperate distraction that proved effective. The creature's eyes momentarily shifted, creating a gap Lily seized, an opening to assert their position further. Her heart swelled. Jesse's instinctual response reinforced something she had suspected all along. He was blossoming under pressure, and as they fought back together, she saw glimmers of his potential as an individual capable of navigating fear with audacity. But as they strategized within the shifting chaos, another question surfaced. Would their combined strengths be enough to reclaim their safety, or were they merely staving off the inevitable? The predator's formidable presence loomed. They were far from finished. "Stay alert," she commanded again, the urgency in her tone crystallizing their shared destiny. "We have to outsmart it." As the shadow of doubt trailed alongside their confidence, a growing belief in their combined capabilities ignited within her. Would they discover deeper facets of themselves? Or would they be swallowed by the darkness around them? The predator's next move would be pivotal, and as they braced for it, Lily knew this was only the beginning. Each moment unveiled a new layer in their complex journey of survival. Unraveling, yet another truth awaited her. But what would it demand from her in return? The predator lunged again, its ferocity undeniable, but this time, a deeper well of courage surged within Lily, solidifying her resolve. She had transformed from the unsure girl burdened by legacy into a warrior ready to embrace her newfound identity. The air crackled with electric anticipation, and she could feel the weight of her decisions charging through her veins. "Jesse, now," she commanded, her voice ringing with authority. As they pivoted in unison, the wolf flanking her felt the synergy of their bond. It mirrored her movements as though they were choreographed partners in an intricate dance of survival. The predator, momentarily distracted by their cohesion, hesitated, and in that instant, Lily seized the opportunity. "Form a barrier!" she yelled, rallying the wolf and Jesse to stand firm. The wolf growled, fiercely protective, standing proudly beside her. In that moment, Lily's heart swelled with pride. They were not just responding to the threat. They were standing their ground as a united force. With a preemptive strike in mind, Lily transitioned from mere survival instincts to a calculated strategy. "On my count," she instructed, allowing her dual role as protector and leader to weave into a single thread of tenacity. "We'll flank it from 3 sides." Jesse nodded, determination replacing fear in his eyes, while the wolf shifted its stance, muscles coiling as it prepared for the impending clash. They had every reason to falter, yet here they were, emboldened by shared purpose. The drive to protect each other superseded doubt and uncertainty. 3, 2, 1. Lily's shout sliced through the tension, and together, they sprang into action. The wolf dashed toward the left, drawing the predator's attention, while Jessie, emboldened by her lead, hurled another rock to the right, eliciting a growl that echoed through the night. As if choreographed by instinct, Lily lunged forward, embodying her inner strength. They moved as a cohesive unit, attacking not only with raw energy but also with the intelligence honed through their harrowing journey. The predator stumbled, caught off guard by the unexpected assault. "Keep pushing," Lily urged, adrenaline surging through her veins. They were not simply fighting for their lives, they were redefining the boundaries of their potential. Together, they charged forward in the dark, the power of their shared bravery illuminating their path. Every ounce of fear melted into an exhilarating realization. They were capable of more than they had ever imagined. The struggle intensified, but each moment solidified Lily's transformation. She was no longer running from her legacy. She was forging a new identity, one built on compassion and courage. As the adrenaline coursed through her, she proved not only to herself, but to Jessie and the wolves, that she held the strength to lead. It was not about becoming her grandfather's warrior, but finding her unique voice within his legacy. The strength to weave empathy with power. The predator reeled, its movements waning as it recognized the unity of their resistance. It growled low but retreated, searching for an escape, and in that moment, a wild cheer erupted within Lily's heart. The realization that fear no longer held dominion over her choices. They stood together, breathing heavily, a triumphant trio forged in the heat of struggle. Relief washed over Lily. In the throes of battle, she had revealed not just her own strength, but had illuminated Jessie's potential as well. What began as a simple rescue mission had transformed into an affirmation of their capabilities. Together, they had rewritten the narrative of fear into one of empowerment. "Lily." Jessie's voice quivered slightly with exhilaration as he met her gaze. "We did it. We actually did it." Lily smiled, her heart swelling with pride as she glanced at the wolf beside them, an embodiment of their shared experience. They had turned from adversaries facing terror into allies bound by a common fight. Together, they had reclaimed their identities as resilient protectors. Emerging from the shadows, the wolf approached, nuzzling against Lily's arm, a gesture of appreciation, solidarity, and connection. It was a silent promise that they would continue on this journey together. "It's not over yet," she murmured, her gaze shifting toward the horizon, where the first hints of dawn began to break through the icy night. "There's still more to do." And so, as the sun rose, its light casting away remnants of darkness and fear, Lily felt a reset in her purpose, a newfound clarity. The challenges that lay ahead would no longer daunt her. She recognized that with each step, her confidence, nurtured through adversity, would guide her forward. This was merely the next chapter in her journey, where growth blended effortlessly with responsibility. Lily had unlocked an authentic strength that surged within her, her resolve cemented in these fierce moments of vulnerability and triumph. With Jessie by her side, and the wolves now depending on them, she resolved to continue working toward the shared future they all deserved. The adventure wouldn't always be easy, but they had proven that together, they could conquer the fiercest of storms. Each challenge was a chance to evolve, and this time, she wouldn't shy away from embracing the power within. You need to subscribe now to witness more transformative stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us connect with fellow dreamers. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement matters, and only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.